So I'd like to welcome you to this mini masterclass packed in for a purpose. Their mess, your mission, discovering new callings while in another's packed rat prison. And I am Majesty AliNICOLE WOW, and I am looking forward to bringing this mini masterclass to you during this time. Please make sure that you take notes. You'll have the opportunity to go back and listen to this masterclass, but I always find that it's very helpful when individuals do jot down some notes initially of what comes to them from what I'm going to be providing today. So this is a very unique topic, for sure. And again, I'm very excited to be bringing this to you. Now, one of the main purposes that I wanted to bring, I should say, the main reason that I wanted to bring this masterclass forward is because there's a hidden, if you want to call it niche or market, so to speak, of people, a tribe who actually are impacted by other people's clutter, and they don't understand sometimes what the purpose was. A lot of times there's the focus on helping people to become clutter-free and emphasis on the person who has the issue, so to speak, but not necessarily a focus for the ones who actually have to be the caretakers or have had to really deal with this, and having some type of support for those individuals, and also helping them to understand why maybe they had to have that experience, and maybe there's something that's more expansive for them to do around this. Now, I do want to say off the top, this is not to encourage anyone or try to persuade anyone that your purpose for being amongst the mess or so is so that you become some personal or professional organizer, or even a clutter-free coach, so to speak. That could be part of your calling, but it doesn't mean that that's what it's about. And I wanted to emphasize that for a reason, because sometimes we look in a very linear format that if I experience this, maybe it means that I'm called to do this. That could be an aspect, and I will speak, about that. But for the majority of this sharing is going to be about you actually discovering multifold callings of why you were there. So my experience with this, and I won't spend too much time sharing this, but I know on an extreme level what it means to be packed in, and literally packed in, and feel like you're in prison, so to speak. But there's a purpose for that experience, right? So when you're in someone else's mess and you're not someone who is doing, you're not a hoarder yourself, or you don't have a lot of clutter going on, and you try to live simple, or you just know yours is not of great significance where you need some type of help, so to speak, but you are living with someone else who does. So it's their mess, but what does this mean for you because you're there? Because a lot of times people who are in those situations are very much trapped in those situations, and the outside world can't really understand why, because they look at it and think that, well, you can just move on and move away. But clutter impacts people's lives in ways that people don't understand. It's not just about stuff. These objects contain energy, and it's a very interesting experience that really keeps people trapped. It blocks their abundance and impacts their health and well-being. And the energy from those experiences open up portals to different things that cause a lot of disharmonization in an environment, and it just is kind of chaotic. So there is no real harmony there, and it is not just as easy for someone to just even pick up stuff and move it and to then also leave. And anyone who's actually been packed in what I call a pack rat's prison, it is very much imprisonment, and you are fighting your way through that experience to try to move yourself beyond and to gain resources that can be sustainable to move forward. So whether, again, you're living with a relative, or you have found yourself in a a roommate, or maybe you've rented a room from someone and they have an environment that is a pack rat prison. Again, it is a very different type of experience, a very different type of experience. So again, when it's not your mess, then what are you there for? There's a reason if you've been packed in. That means that there's a mission, but it's a multi-level mission. And I know this, again, from my own experience, that it was not just me discovering one level of a calling, but multiple levels of a calling that would then set me up for greater impact and income. And that's why I'm very passionate about helping individuals in this unique situation to, yes, understand that there is a reason that you've had to experience that. Now, the reason why you have multiple callings and kind of a multi-mission purpose, so to speak, is that anytime you are surrounded by so much, it is triggering a whole lot. It's not just impacting your nervous system in a very traumatic way, so to speak. That is a part of it for sure. But there's multiple things that are calling to you. So something that I teach in terms of cross industries work, cross industries entrepreneurship, is having the capacity and the ability to serve different niche markets in some very unique ways, in very simple ways. And so those are considered to be kind of strands of callings that one can embark on. So there are things in the environment, they have stories, they have energy to them. And it's not so much that you write from the energy that's of those objects, it's that because you're around so many things, that does indicate that there is a stimulation there that you are called to serve in multiple arenas. So if you've been really singularly focused on a purpose, you're being packed in for a purpose is so that you can start to expand into a multi-purposed way of being. So it's, yes, their mess for sure, but your mission, your new mission, and how within that experience you start to uncover, that way you discover what your new callings are while you're in that experience, those types of dynamics. So again, a lot of times we think of a life's purpose or calling to be kind of a singular focused mission. But it's in this type of experience where you begin to get present and say, what is the higher purpose? What is the multi-purpose of me being here? What is my mission? What is the callings? What are the callings of why I'm here? What am I being called to? And if I feel that I'm being called to so many different things based on this experience, how do I actually now start to create some type of framework for this so that it's not overwhelming and not something that is really dominating my life or experience, but I can be of service or contribute to others based on what I have encountered, so to speak. And so that's why I want to start shifting to share about you becoming more multi-mission focused for sure, and being able to be cross-functional in what you do in terms of your mission and purpose, and then stepping out to serve different industries, really doing it in a simple way of providing publications, platforms, and products. But I'm going to talk about publications, then I'll talk about products, and then I'll talk about platforms, all right? So when you get present to discover what is calling you now, what are things that are calling you, all right? Like before you came into that situation, let's say that you, again, didn't have your own clutter issues or anything, there's a sense within you that would probably feel like, I've experienced this. I definitely would like to share at least some form of my journey, a part of my journey that helps other people not to get into this situation or so, or things that you should know even before you move in with someone who has clutter or however. Those are things that you can think about that you would not have been thinking about before. So that is an industry. That is an industry. And again, I'm going to share some things and then I'll tell you how you can start to package your knowledge from your experience into publications and products, and then be able to set up a platform that can be able to, facilitate this, or separate platforms that maybe you would like to use to be able to contribute. So at least that's one area. At least that's one area. How important it is not to have clutter, to live a clutter-free life, and how important that is. That's at least one. Another aspect or product or consideration or area of focus can be on, 3 to 5 things you need to know before you move in with someone. All right. So that's an industry within itself. All right. So do you already see how just those two subjects alone, which they can actually be used, in concert with each other, in terms of just even one book focus around that, but then you can categorize it and create something different with that based on just those two elements alone, right? So also you can look at, when being in this situation, what are things that you learned to do or not to do, or some things that maybe did inspire you, or maybe forced you to go a different route to do something, even in learning how to clean, or however. You can look at these in categories and see these as individual types of missions that you can then produce products for, all right? But also looking at your passions and your hobbies, all these different things. I want you to look at all of those as those are missions. Those are all little callings, something that you would have never considered writing a book about or doing a product about, something that you absolutely love and enjoy. You can also look at, the things that once I'm out of here, what I plan to do, those are all industries. Those are all callings. Those are all purposes, but again, in a very different way. So let me just start talking about the developmental process of creating products and publications, all right? So I'm a published author of over 300 works on Amazon, and I've used a platform called Kindle Direct Publishing over the years, and it's free to use. And they even provide free ISBNs and book cover templates. And I encourage individuals to produce low to medium content forms of publication, short form types of publications. 30 to 70 pages could be kind of a micro messenger book. These can be affirmation journals or journals in general, action planners. They can be tip books, how-to books, workbooks, compositions. And even from your purpose or your calling, so to speak, in these areas, can be something simple as just providing a sacred space for people to record their own journeys from whatever the intention is. I publish primarily in intentional journal format publications, so I provide a lot of journal prompts and Q&A style publications. And I do have publications where it's actually books, so to speak, or a mini book, but they all have sort of a journal component. So when you're doing publications that are like 30 to 70 pages, you just focus on just a little bit of content and then providing the pages where they have kind of an interactive experience. So let's just say in terms of someone living more clutter-free. So you don't have to be an authority in any of these areas. You're just sharing from your experience, like a 1 or 2 steps ahead expert. So if you just create the space, here's your decluttering planner, right? So you can let the experience that you've had be something that inspires you to create something around it without you actually having to get into, oh, well, how you do this or X, Y, and Z. And maybe you don't even share from your story. Maybe you don't even share from your journey. You just create the intention and the space for something like, what would this person need who isn't actually doing anything and it's their mess? What does a person need to start moving in the right direction? So just from your observation, you could create something of that. They need a plan, right? So you can put that into some type of short form type of publication and then let that be where people are planning it out, all right? So, or a affirmations journal of being a champion for someone who, can make it through. They can do this or however. And again, this is so multifaceted. It doesn't necessarily have to be always so much about the situation itself and that being a topic that you leverage. It's what is it inspiring? All right. What is it doing new for you? So that's what you want to look at. So as I mentioned, using Kindle Direct Publishing, and it's free to use, as I mentioned, be published in the 24 to 72 hours. And that will take care of that. So you can start looking at 3 to 5 different areas that you can provide these low to medium content types of publications. All right. So that's leveling you up for impact and income. Now I want to shift to talk about digital products. We live in a digital era, right? Online space dominates for sure. So looking at being able to take even simple Zoom recordings, recording some motivational talks or even info products or so around specific focuses, even if, again, it could be a hobby of yours and you want to share with people, for those of you who are passionate about this, here's an action planner to plan out your next project or however whatnot, or your next adventure, what you plan to do next with the hobby, or just record it or however. So do you see how this gets to stimulate into different ways that you can create impact and income from this particular experience? Again, let it be the trigger mechanics that starts to stimulate you to serve a purpose in a much more expanded way. All right, a much more expanded way, right? So if you feel like you are stuck, you would certainly like to be unstuck, right? So you can actually create some type of planner in terms of getting unstuck, right? Or getting stuff done. Do you see where I'm going with this? How this expands and gets you into, whoa, okay, I never thought about things like this. Yeah, I can actually just create journals around this or planners for people to plan their, not escape, so to speak, but it can seem like that, but to plan their next steps, to have a game plan, because most people don't have a game plan. And especially people who have a messy life, they typically don't have a game plan or something that they can stay committed and consistent to. So those are things that you can look at in terms of, here's what this person would need. Now, I may not be able to help the person initially that I'm in the space with. They may be in resistance to that, not trying to hear it, because I'm sure you probably have. But for someone else, you just use them kind of as that template to say, where there's you, there's several, but there is one of you or a few of you somewhere that actually would listen and take some advice, but maybe don't have someone with them to provide that for them. That's where you come in, again, to provide simple, basic knowledge of whether it's from your experience, again, no matter what the area is, or it is just the sacred space for them to do that. So anyhow, taking Zoom recordings and creating some products that you talk about around that, repurposing even from what you wrote in your publications, or however you can repurpose that to create different levels of products for sure. And then once you create those products, those recordings, and Zoom is free to use, and you get those 2 versions of formats of products, or I should say recordings, MP4 and M4A, that's the audio. So once you have those and you develop those as products, then you can upload them to a platform that's called gumroad.com, and it's free to use Gumroad. And so once you upload those products there, you have digital products. So then you have publications and digital products. And once you actually upload your product to Gumroad and submit it, it's up live. You don't have to wait for it to go through a review process like you would for your book that, can be up within 24 to 72 hours on Amazon. But my point is this is how you can expand what you do by looking at, all of these different areas of my life are actually little mini callings. And who knows, by you publishing and creating products around this, who knows what else that leads to, what else that opens up to, right? So being packed in, it's like, imagine yourself being a diamond, and the pressure from the being packed in is extracting the newness of you, the diamond of who you are, bringing forth and unearthing you in a new way of being. So that's your being packed in for a purpose, is that you are being, yes, surrounded by all of this stuff, uh, and feel like it's probably squeezing the life out of you at this point, or just really controlling your way of being. It's only that it's an invitation for you to actually live a more expanded life, so that when you launch from there, you break out, or however, you leave, you have your exodus movement from there, you're going to come out better than you were, and not necessarily having a life, a story of judgment around, oh, I lived in this place, it was so bad, so terrible, blah, 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 blah. No, you look at it from a different vantage point of what did it actually produce, and who did you become in the process of being in that, type of situation. So once you create products, then you can put them on platforms, and there are free platforms that you can use, like tumblr.com, and go to Blogger, which you can get a blogspot URL. You can start putting those products on sites and kind of have your own little marketplace, so to speak, of publications and products, right? So that's a way. But also I want to say platforms like Tumblr and Blogspot, blogger.com, but you get a Blogspot URL, they allow you to have multiple blogs under one account. So in having those blogs under one account, you can create different levels of the blogs, and you don't have to actually blog on these. You can just use them as online presence and put your products on there. But I normally do recommend that people have a 3 to 5 part blog series that they have around it, and then just maybe create a landing page, a pin post, so to speak, so that they can have that there. But these are just ways, again, for you to start looking at your purpose in a different way. Now, in the description, I have a plethora of resources as it relates to this, and some of it does go over what I've talked about today in terms of how you get set up with your platforms and different things like that, and those are very helpful, but also for expanding yourself as a cross-industries entrepreneur, and looking at how you can be a multi-level writer or publisher, so to speak. You never know what this can lead to. But I'm just wanted to provide this mini masterclass so that you can start thinking in new ways about why you're here, and then again, multiplying and maximizing your experience by actually monetizing it, all right? And discovering not just one purpose, but multi-level purposes. And again, some of what you create will be one-offs that consistently pays off. It doesn't mean that you start building some niche and brand around any of this, all right? It's just that these are contributions to these different industries from your life. These are different parts of your callings. So as I mentioned earlier, get present and ask, what's calling me now? What are the callings? Because trust me, it's not just going to be one. If you've been packed in for a purpose, it's a multi-mission calling. You're here to be multifaceted for sure. And again, as I mentioned, I have resources and publications and different trainings or so in the description, and you can definitely explore those. But I'm wishing you the absolute best with this initiative. Please take time to get present and to be able to explore what this really means for you. Yes, it is their mess, but you have a mission, and you have a multi-level messages that can be shared from this. So coming out of your pack rat prison, you have a more expansive way of being for your purpose in life that without being in that experience, you would not be coming into the greater expansion. So you can bless the experience and be able to move forward and move on, knowing that this actually was a part of a divine plan for you. So take the next 30 to 90 days to start creating and fleshing this out, and letting yourself be guided to what this next level of purpose is. Have a master plan and just watch it unfold. But I'm wishing you the absolute best. It's been my total delight to bring this masterclass to you today. Take care and stay blessed.